Hello and welcome to another edition of Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. If you saw me in this shirt in the last video, it's because I'm just doing a couple videos back to back. And I'm actually starting to really run out of clothes. You know, my clothes stained with paint, dirt, anyway. So, got a lot of black shirts. A lot of people know that I had done time, if you've been following this, I should say. A lot of people know that I did time at in the Butner complex. And I spent over 3 years at Butner 1. With some famous people. That's Carmine Persico, Jonathan Pollard, Israeli spy. Oh, there's a video too. Damn, I just thought of it. Pollard, gotta write it down. Jonathan Pollard, Bernie Madoff, Carmine Persico, who else? David Mack. And this story is about David Mack. David Mack, former L.A.P.D officer, or I'm sorry, let me say what the news would say. Former disgraced L.A.P.D officer. Possibly a member of the Bloods, maybe not. At one point, close friend of Suge Knight, or maybe not. Depends who, whatever. Anyway, what David was actually famous, well, he wasn't famous. He's famous for being a suspect in the murder of Biggie Smalls. Some think Tupac too, but a lot think that Biggie Smalls for sure. I know that's been proven otherwise or this way, and it's all over. Anyway, David Mack was, prior to his criminal life, and even becoming a police officer, was actually an athlete, a hell of a runner. If you guys go dig up his background, he was going to run in the Olympics. He blew his knee out at some point. Was it the long distance run that he was like third in the world? Went overseas. Just a storied career as a runner that he never got any credit for because all the other stuff that happened in his life was overshadowed. So this is a guy that was adopted, grew up in a house where the adopted mother, I believe, was involved in the drug game, crack and stuff like that. We had some stories, and I just paused there because I just thought about David as a person and what if that was something he'd want to share. But okay, yeah. So he grew up in where did Suge Knight grow up? So was it Compton? Was it the Compton area? Is that what it was? Damn, I just drew a blank there. Man. So he got a scholarship in high school for running, for track and field, and ended up going to University of Oregon or Oregon State. What the Beavers was. Man, maybe I should rethink this video, right? I've got a lot of facts I missed. You know what I did? Here's the deal. I wrote a piece on David Mack once upon a time, and as I was, I just came up with this video, like right when I got done with Sneaky Pete, and I was like, man, I haven't done David Mack yet. And that's why I actually did a blog post about him, or an article for a website a long time ago, and I just remembered. And I drew blanks, so that's my bad. But you know what? I'm going to keep rolling with this because it's just one of those things. Look it up. He either went to Oregon or Oregon State. He was like one of the only black guys there. I remember him saying that, and how he felt and how he was treated. He was not treated bad. He, you know, of course there was undercover racism and stuff like that, is what he said. But he, you know, had girlfriends and did good. The problem in the '84 Olympics, he was supposed to run and he blew out his knee. That led him to be a law enforcement, going to law enforcement. Dirty cop for sure. Can't say that he was not part of that crew that would, you know, plant stuff on you. And they had their own philosophy about how to treat gangs in LA, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm not sticking up for that at no means. But at some point, they lost track of themselves and they became dirty cops. Of course, he became a security guard for Suge Knight. And there are rumors that he killed Biggie Smalls. Now, it took me months when I went to Butner. I remember reading an article in the Rolling Stone with about David, in which David Mack was mentioned and one of his former L.A.P.D officer co-defendants. And it was one of the best Rolling Stone articles that I've ever read. Joey Testa is the first person that pointed out David Mack to me. And Joey used to talk to David a lot, and, and me for months at Butner, I would not talk to sex offenders. I would not talk to ex-law enforcement. There was a bunch there. And David Mack was one of them. I wouldn't give him the time of day. Nicest guy in the world. I mean, just a jolly good fellow, if you will. I mean, just his whole demeanor and character, just will stop and pay attention to what you're saying. We'll remember what you're saying. We'll come back and ask you if you have a problem or if you have a situation at home that you mentioned offhandedly to him. He would come back and say, like, how's your mom? You mentioned her, such and such, like, to everybody. Just a real gentleman in prison. I didn't know him out here. And I go with who I base my feelings on the guys I meet in prison. I don't care if they were serial killers. I don't care if they murdered everybody. I'm sorry for their families and the victims, so don't get me wrong. But I was a prisoner too. I was we were locked up together. Anyway, Joey Test is the first one that introduced me to David Mack. And I remember I told Joey later, hey man, I'm not trying to talk to fucking cops. And he's like, hey kid, listen here, you know where we're at, and so wow. So this is how we started talking. I have sleeping problems, still do to this day. 3 nights sleepless right now, for whatever reason, just cat naps all through the night. At Butner, I was the same place. And my sleeping issues linger for a long time, different periods of my life. I would get up like at 3:30 in the morning and walk out of my cell, the doors were open, and I'd go put on CNN. Couldn't watch Fox News because the warden said, we don't watch that stuff here. So if Fox would have been there, I would have watched both. David, big liberal, big left winger. What's the show on NPR? I'm trying to think of I can't believe Amy Goodman. He's the one that turned me on to her originally. What's her show's name? You guys know who I'm talking about. Amy Goodman, left hardcore radical left winger. I don't say that disrespectfully. She argues her positions well, or she reports on her positions well. Great journalist, actually. David is a big fan of Amy Goodman, and he had all her books, and I read them. I believe we met because we were out early in the morning. I was up at like 3:30. He got up at 4. He did like a little workout routine in the morning, and then he would sit down and watch the news. And at some point, I don't know when, after I was at Butner, like 6 months, I started, I got used to being around the non-desirables within the prison system. Sex offenders, ex-law enforcement, PC cases, dropouts, whatever. And that's the truth. I just got used to it. And started talking to David Mack. And we, a lot of times, had discussions about race. I'm a white guy. Shocking. Newsflash, I'm a white guy. He's a little older than me. I'm 52, be 53. He's definitely older than me. But, the media keeps us at each other's throat over politics, over left and right, and over race. And of course, when things would happen, I'd get upset. When Kanye took the trophy from Taylor Swift, I thought that was just racist as hell. Really, I mean, I did. I even wrote some kind of crazy ass blog post, talking shit about Kanye. I don't like my opinion mattered. I do have respect for Kanye, for real. But at that point, I saw that as a blatant act of, excuse me. Wow. I'm going to go with this still. Oof. Anyway, David did not. God. Okay. Oof. But we were also there when Obama became president. That was a big deal. I did a piece about Old Man Curry, but David Mack was there as well. You know, of course, he's a black guy, just really just ecstatic that Obama won. But let me tell you about David Mack in prison. I don't know what he did on the street, and let me be clear here. I have no knowledge of David Mack, whether he shot Biggie Smalls or not. And if I did, that's something I would not say. Now, the David Mack that I knew in prison was all about education and betterment of oneself. If other than me, who didn't really utilize the whole educational system at Butner FCI 1, which, by the way, at that time was absolutely phenomenal. Props to Butner FCI 1 for their educational program back from 2007, or even further, way further back than that, up until the financial collapse. So it's like 2009 is when it started fading out, all the college courses. I don't know what they've got now, but man, they had a great educational program. And David Mack got his bachelor's in like everything available. And he preached education to anybody that would listen. You're never too old to learn. You got to do this. You got to just on and on and on. Again, I wrote an article about him, and it named the number of certificates that he had there. And I keep doing this over and over again. I still have not brought out all my prison journals. I've got some at the top. I've got so much from prison that I haven't even started on yet. So if you think I'm out of content, you got another thing coming. Yeah, so what I was going to say is I'm wrong for not doing better research on some of these stories. I really am. I truly am. And there's going to be a time when it gets better. Just God, everything's in disarray in my life. The house, the family situation, but not in a bad way. Whatever. There's good and bad. But I'll have total stability sometime. I keep thinking that I will next week, next month, and it gets a little bit more fickle, but hey, it's okay. I'm free. And it's going to be a year here, coming up on April 13th. Okay, anyway, but David Mack was about betterment. He used to jog. He was a runner in prison, ran every day. One of his running buddies was a guy named Junior Matisco, who was also Bernie Madoff's cellie for a long time, who used to sit at the table with Carmine and I, but I found out that he was a sex offender. Child exploitation case and a bomb. He was taking videos of his stepbrother or something like that. Something really, but this guy looked like a little kid. Anyway, like I said, David Mack didn't care who did what. Matisco was all about running. He trained Junior Matisco. He was his running partner for a while. But it wasn't just about Junior. Anybody that was willing to take the time, that wanted to get better at running, better at their long distance running, because he would sometimes, he would do an hour a day, but sometimes he'd go on his little marathons and stuff. Real workout fanatic, really healthy. Just all around. In prison, David Mack was just an all around great guy, is what it is. I remember when he left, we took a photo. I got photos of me and David Mack. I'll post them at some point, somewhere, someday. But I do have photos of me and David Mack. We were good friends. He used to talk about law enforcement. He used to talk about racial profiling. When it comes to racial profiling, let me go ahead and say this. What he said, that's a part of police work. If you're a white guy in a black neighborhood, which I have been, and I've been pulled over, their job is to profile you. And I just looked out the window because I just heard Marta shut off the car. She's got a really, really bad habit. She's always drove a standard, and I've got an automatic, and she keeps like thinking it's a clutch and shifting it before it stops. She's going to ruin the transmission. Anyway, sorry, went off on that. Racial profiling, David Mack said that's part of police work. If you're a black guy in a white neighborhood, they're going to pull you over more than likely. They were back then. I don't know how the tactics are now. The world's changed in a lot of different ways, for good and worse. I mean, we can get into all that in a different time and place. But yeah, I and another person, 3 drug dealers. No, there are 2 of us. 3 drug dealers thought of an idea once, and this is foul. I want you guys to know this. All right, so don't send me hate mail over what I'm about to tell you. We thought of a website called SuspectedDrugDealers.com, and it was actually formed for a minute, and it was pretty much about a gossip website, and then we based it off JuicyCampus.com. If you guys don't know what that was, you can go look. They shut it down, but we based the model off of JuicyCampus.com, and it was really a joke to us at the time, and we had sought David Mack's professional opinion on that site, and he gave it to us. And that was about how to identify suspected drug dealers and for how people would go post. Anyway, he was instrumental in that. That didn't go through. I know a lot of people are happy. A lot of people are like, you're a piece of shit, Rosso. How the fuck can you be a former drug dealer and a drug addict and try to get drug dealers busted? It was never about busting people, man. It was about making money. And that's the truth. And then it became kind of about real estate, but that's a whole different thing. I've had a million ideas. I have a million ideas a day. If I can get just one every day to come through, I'd be a freaking billionaire 10 times over. Anyway, David Mack was totally instrumental in that. And yeah, he went home and we kept in contact for a while. Let me say, the day he left, I was really sad. In prison, you kind of learn how to disassociate with what's coming and what's coming when one of your friends are leaving or one of your good homeboys. And I'm not ashamed to sit here and say that I was a good friend with an ex-cop because I was. Would I have been in a USP? You guys can, you can see Marta's face right there. Would I have been in a USP? Absolutely not. It was, when in Rome, do like Romans. But anyway, yeah, I'm proud to call David Mack a friend of mine and have, his good friend. I was really sad when he left. We kept in contact until the Bureau of Prisons made us stop. And what I did get from him is he was all about solar energy. He was trying to put solar energy into low-income neighborhoods. He wanted to go help his people, and don't say that, derogatory, or that's what he said. Low-income, lower projects, put solar panels, because he took a class about solar panels, and that's what really, juiced him up. He was all about solar panels. Well, he started it with his son, from what I remember, and he fell off the roof and busted his hip. I don't know what happened to David since then. I was in contact with the reporter from 2020, Brooke Strangeland, put it out there, producer, and I was going to hook David Mack up with an interview with her. And he was all for it, and I said it to her, and she was a little jazzed about it. And then they came out with some forensics on some bullets or something, but something happened to where it wouldn't have been cool if David Mack went on and did 2020. He was also supposed to do a book. I don't think he ever did. I don't know. I didn't Google before I came on. That would be a fantastic story. I wish he would. I wish he would. Maybe I'll try to get a hold of him. But I'm going to say this once again. I had no knowledge of David Mack, whether or not he was involved in the killing of Suge Knight. And I wouldn't say if I did. David Mack, if you're out there, if you ever see this, you were a friend. I consider you a friend to this day. All right. Yeah. Surprising, I'm sure, for some people that David Mack actually was a pretty decent person in prison. It is what it is.